Hello, I am Armika Berkeley, Chief Administrative Officer at Kaiser Permanente. It's an honor to welcome you to the Marin Women's Hall of Fame Class of 2026 inductee interviews, presented by Kaiser Permanente. In this series, we have the privilege of sitting down with this year's inductees to hear firsthand about their lives, their careers, and the remarkable journeys they have led them through to this well-deserved recognition. Since 1987, the Marin Women's Hall of Fame has inducted more than 160 extraordinary women, leaders who have made meaningful and lasting contributions to Marin County, its residents, and communities far beyond. These honorees represent excellence across diverse fields, including education, science, business, philanthropy, the arts, politics, law, philosophy, and religion. Each has been a catalyst for positive change, and it is an honor to help celebrate and preserve their stories. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce Loulie Sutro, who is being inducted into the Marin Women's Hall of Fame in 2026 for her visionary work in community service. Hello, Loulie.
Hello, I'm Loulie Sutro, and I'm so honored to be here today and honored to be having Armika as my interviewer.
Of course.
I was born in Connecticut, and I lived there until I was 26 years old. My parents were traditional family. My father worked in finance, and my mother, which I think had an influence on me, my mother was at home with my brother and me most of the time, but she did take off time 2 or 3 times a week to go volunteer. Mm-hmm. And she mostly did it with underprivileged children. And when she'd come home, she'd tell me about it. And I think at that point, I was really soaking up the fact that service and volunteering was a really good thing to do. I hadn't soaked up much at that point, but I think that was one of the things. So that is where I come from. I went to a pretty traditional, I would say, conventional girls' high school, and it was there that I really got into service because they emphasized it. And I graduated from high school in 1953.
Wow.
And even back then, service was a big thing. Mm-hmm. And we were expected to do a volunteer job at least once a week. And I just fell into that because I had been listening to my mother all these years, and I thought, okay, well, that's good. I can do this too. And so by my senior year, and in those days, it was all girls' school, and the teachers did a lot more. And today's world, the kids do some of this stuff, but in those days, the teachers planned the rosters for who was going to run for which office.
Wow.
And I think it was my English teacher, Miss Gibney, and I think she pushed me for this job. And anyway, I was one of 4 that ran, and I was so excited when I won, and that gave me a lot of confidence. And that was the first time I ever did any public speaking, and I remember my knees just shaking when I had to make announcements in chapel and so forth. But I thoroughly enjoyed that job, and it set me off for the rest of my life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You know, you called out 2 people, it sounds like, who were influential in your life, your mom and your teacher who nominated you. I'm curious if there's anyone else who was influential in your journey, or if there was a moment during the volunteerism that was set up, you know, by your mom or in high school that you want to talk more about.
Well, I do think that I had my first introduction into the inner city of Hartford, and 2 of us would go down there every afternoon and play with these kids And it was an eye-opener to me, and they were so excited to see us. And we would play with them and hope we were making some kind of difference. But you know, when all was said and done, it was kind of like you knew really you didn't make that much of a difference. Mm-hmm. But it was very nice maybe for them at the time. Yeah. And I had some people in my life later on. I don't know if you want to go in geographical order or
Tell us more about the people that's influenced.
Okay, well, after college, I'm skipping a lot of my life, but I guess that doesn't matter. I ended up at age 26, against my parents' wishes, just digging up stakes from boring Hartford, Connecticut, and moving to San Francisco. And there I answered an ad in the paper, which I, to this day, can't believe it. I didn't even know what the company was. It just was what they said they wanted. And I went and I was interviewed by these two lovely ladies, about 15 years older than I, who were married with no children and ex-school teachers. And I remember we sat around a table. I was living on my good friend's couch, my girlfriend from home, and trying to look nice for an interview, dressed, you know, bringing out things from the suitcase. But they just put me at ease, and they made me realize that I think I'd like to work for these people. And we sat there and we smoked cigarettes and we laughed. And I still laugh, but I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. So they were my mentors for 4 years when I worked for the Red Cross Youth Program. Mm-hmm. And this, of course, was a nonprofit. And I had my eye on nonprofits after my insurance job. Mm-hmm. And they just taught me so much in the nicest way. I mean, there were no rules, and I had a tendency to be a little late to work. I had to walk 6 blocks, and sometimes it was raining. But they got used to the fact that I got to work maybe 5 to 10 minutes late most days. So instead of starting the meeting at 9 o'clock, mm-hmm. they started all the meetings at 9:15. And nothing else was said. Mm-hmm. And I could tell they appreciated what I was doing, and it was worth it to lose 15 minutes mm-hmm. in the day. So after my 4 years there, I used what I learned. They taught me that I was creative. I never knew that I was. They taught me that I really was a leader, which I didn't know I was. And my job was teaching the top students in the San Francisco and Peninsula schools leadership, understanding, and international understanding and service to the community. And so we had a meeting every Friday afternoon, and we used Robert's Rules of Order. Mm-hmm. And you know, some of them I became quite close to, and you know, they really were some of them 16 and I was 26, and I've run into them in my adult life in San Francisco, and that's sort of fun, and they remember me, and I think, you know, what a wonderful job teaching is. I never thought of it before. I never wanted to be one, but I would have liked it very much. So they influenced me, and I could give you a million reasons why and how, but that's enough, I suppose. Well,
you know, what's coming up for me is when you talked about your mom in Connecticut, and was it Miss Gilbert, your teacher? Gibney. Miss yeah. Gibney, your teacher, and how these two mentors were teachers to you, and, you know, brought out some of those features that, you know, for many, many years our community has got to benefit from. So there's clearly a theme here that I love. I absolutely love it. Okay, well, I'll go to the next question. I'll do my best to keep us on task.
Okay.
So you've talked about, you know, the folks that have influenced you and how they've influenced you throughout your life. Do you want to tell us about an important learning in your life that you believe has been key to your success?
Yes, and I think this really was important to me, and as much as my parents were dyed-in-wool Connecticut people, and they didn't want me to leave, and I was going all the way to live with my father couldn't even say, what did he call beatniks? He couldn't remember. He said, "You're going out there with the bitniks?" Anyway, they just didn't want me to go, but it was hard for me to do, but I knew I had to. I just knew I had to start somewhere interesting. And I had a friend there who was going to let me sleep on her couch until I got settled. And so I did. And I'm still there. And my life has turned out so that I realize that taking a risk is one of the best things you could do. And I took another risk when I answered this ad in the newspaper that didn't even say Red Cross. And I didn't know what it was, and I took it, and it was the best learning experience, better than college, that job was. And it was because of whom I ended up as my teachers. So I think risk-taking, starting Marin villages, which is what I spent the last 15 years doing, was a risk. Because there really weren't any established villages here then. And now there are about 30 in California and over 500 in the United States. And we were one of the very first.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I think you shouldn't be afraid if you have an inkling of an idea, just go for it. And I never was like that before. I was shy, and I was afraid to take any new steps, and I was under my parents, and so I learned risks are good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine that kind of risk. Like how did you know it was that's a pretty big risk to come all the way across the country to do something that I guess your heart told you was the right thing to do.
Well, it didn't. I was scared to death. I was scared to death because my parents were, and I had a very close set of girlfriends from my high school, and they all had scattered. They were either married right away or they'd moved somewhere. And I, having taken a trip across the country camping with some college friends, when I got home, they had a place for me in an apartment in Boston, and I wasn't ready to go. I needed to rest. I just needed to collect myself, so I didn't go to Boston. And I stayed in Hartford and worked for this insurance company and lived with some college friends out in the country, but holy smokes, I didn't know what I was doing. And by the time I left, there was nothing left for me in Hartford. There was just nothing, and I was getting nervous about it. I thought, life must be more than this. And so I did it. I had a friend who said I could stay with her. And I took a little detour to Hawaii, where I had some friends and some relatives for a little while before I ended up in San Francisco. But anyway, I slept on my friend's couch and went to work, and I made enough money for my food and my rent to come with other girls, and it just grew from there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the universe facilitated, said nothing else here in Hartford, a good detour to a beautiful place with a beautiful beach, only to land in another beautiful place.
San Francisco, my friends had gone to Boston and New York, and it had been done. And so by the time I was going to go, I thought I had to choose another place.
So you're the ambitious friend.
No. Maybe.
I think they might say that about you. I'm feeling that about you. Okay, so I'll jump to our next question, if that's okay with you. So tell us about what you've learned about mentorship and being a mentor.
Okay. Well, of course, I was mentored by my dear friends, Florence and Mary Lou, who were my bosses. And they mentored in the nicest way. And it was with love, it was with understanding, and it was with firmness, so that I desperately wanted to please them. And I wanted to be like they were. And so I, in turn, passed on what I'd learned from them to my students. And I had never taught before or even worked with young people, but I think I did an okay job. And as I said, I see some of them now as adults, and they still remember me, and that it was a good experience. Mm-hmm. Also, I served on a hospital board for maybe 12 years. It was two kinds of boards. I was on one, and then I was on the other. And during that time, of course, everything was about making money for the hospital. And so we had a bunch of girls who we presented at a debutante party, and the money that was raised went to the hospital. And so these girls graduated from high school, they went off to college, and then some of them came back to live in San Francisco as adults. And I sort of had an inkling about where they were and what they were doing, but not too much. But I had an idea that we should have a junior committee to what we call the Women's Board, who would put on events and have their own little fundraising capacity to add some more money. So I did that, and I had to mentor these new college graduates into doing their job for the hospital. And they did. They had interesting parties and meetings at certain bars in the city, and they did very well. And as a matter of fact, several of them are now my daughter's friends, who met many years later. So.
They're still a part of your network, your family, your community.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
That's right.
Do you think you? Oh, go ahead, please.
Well, you also have to mentor your children. Right. I had 3 children, and spent a lot of time mentoring them. That's for sure.
Well, tell us about your children. How many? 3, and who?
2
are
girls
they?
and a boy. One, my oldest is a girl, and she has a master's in an MBA in what do you call advertising? I guess you would say.
Marketing. Mm-hmm.
Marketing, yes. And she lives in San Francisco and does sort of what I did in terms of volunteering. She's got 2 children of her own, and she's got a very busy husband who's a very fine executive, and so she keeps up with him. But anyway, she's just doing great. And then my second is a boy who lives about 2 blocks from me, and he's married with 3 children. And he is a very big attorney in San Francisco now, which is something that he follows the family. And we never asked him if he wanted to be, we never mentioned it. It was all his idea. So he's doing it. And then my third is a daughter, and she lives in Sacramento with her family and her 3 children. And she is I don't know if she does this because of what I ended up doing, but she is the assistant director of the Department of Aging for California. Mm. And, she goes to all these conferences and we run into the same people all the same time, so.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, because what I ended up doing was starting Marin Villages, which is a nonprofit to help seniors.
It sounds like through your mentorship, whether it was with folks who weren't your family members or probably considering themselves family members now, early on in their career,
right.
And both your children. So, clear to us, you have done all the work to inspire the next generation to continue the work. So it's a big deal. And thank you for doing that.
Oh, well, some people that's all you want to do is just make some kind of a difference. And at the time, you don't realize you're doing it, which you probably know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It comes natural to superheroes like you.
And you.
But you have considered your job done.
Okay.
That was one of the things you wanted to accomplish.
Right.
So I'm sure those who are watching this interview have been very inspired by your professional accomplishments, your personal accomplishments and commitments to the community. I'd love for you to share with us what inspires you every day.
Well, I spend a lot of time watching other people. And if I see someone doing something and I just feel wonderful about what they're doing, that is inspirational to me. And I think that's what I do. And I'm not sure if that's what a lot of people do, but I spend a lot of time watching. And then if something appeals to me, I will go for it or glom onto it or something. Mm-hmm. So that has inspired me. And also, Florence and Mary Lou inspired me because they were always positive, and they wanted children, never could have them, and they were just still so happy, and they saw the positive in everything, and they were just well esteemed by everybody. As a matter of fact, just this week I heard from some staff person at the Red Cross, and they had seen a video of Mary Lou when she was 100 years old, still playing golf. I know. And somehow he'd found out that I think I sent a check in at Christmas time in honor of her. And so he wanted me to talk to him about that. And that was in the 60s, early 1960s. And that was a long time ago. And she's still remembered there. So.
That's what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that influence.
Yeah.
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 Oh my gosh. Well, now Mary Lou and Florence will be mentors that we'll get to have folks remember as a part of your journey here. So thanks for carrying just their legacy forward. It's a big deal. Well, given your experiences and achievements, what are your hopes for the community of Marin?
Okay, well, Marin Villages, have I described what Marin Villages even does in this?
You have to tell us. You have not.
All right. Marin Villages, I started 15 years ago, and it is a nonprofit which helps senior citizens who are committed to living in their own homes, even though they're house poor, they can't drive, they can't walk far enough to get to a bus, they can't climb up on a ladder to change a light bulb, they can't walk their dog, but they really want to stay in their own home, and they don't want to go to a community situation for seniors, and there are a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And so I started it, and it was hard to start because I gathered my smartest friends and most like-minded friends and had them all to lunch, and I presented this to them. Mm-hmm. And I learned from when I was on the civil grand jury, we did a study about the senior problem in Marin County, and we learned that the seniors were in real deep trouble because the Board of Supervisors was never going to be able to take care of so many, and so many who are living way up on a hill, and they're all alone, and so forth and so on. Mm-hmm. And so a man named Deepak Murtry, who was the Surgeon General of the United States under two presidents, spoke at our 15th anniversary or event, which we had at the Buck Institute, which is for studying the aging. And he just wrote a book called Together, and everybody who went got a copy of it, which I have read. And it's all about how terribly important loneliness is for old people. Mm-hmm. And I don't like to be lonely when I'm not old. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that Marin Villages does, besides provide volunteers to go and walk the dog and so forth, is give events. Well, we have luncheons and dinners and card groups and men's groups and bocce ball and all kinds of activities. I mean, we have 6 villages under a hub and spoke arrangement. Mm-hmm. And each village has a committee called a steering committee, and they run their own little organization. But then we have a overseeing office in San Rafael with about 4 staff. And so if a member, and it is very reasonable to join, it's about $400 a year now. If a member joins, they have access to all of over 500 volunteers. And it's not like you just have to take a job and keep at it forever. You can do all kinds of things. And all these members can say, oh my gosh, I have the flu and I have to go pick up so-and-so and, I can't do it. And, we do anything sort of medical. And you look at your computer every day and you see on the screen what jobs are available for what days in the next week or two. And you say, oh, well, look, so-and-so wants to go to her doctor on Wednesday. I can do that. And so she calls the office. The office makes note of it, gives her the number of the person who needs the help, and then the volunteer gets in touch with the member. And it's funny to watch over the years because some of these volunteers fight over certain members. They like this lady, and she wants to go to the grocery store. I'm taking her. But I signed up first. And, I love that because it's just so wonderfully altruistic. And there have been wonderful friendships that have blossomed from this. Mm-hmm. And this is what Vivek Murthy really emphasizes in his book and in his talk to us at our 15th anniversary. And he particularly mentioned Marin Villages. And as the founder, I was sitting in the front, and so he pointed to me, and I was, oh my goodness, he said, you have been instrumental in saving the health of thousands of senior people, because being lonely, being unhappy, not associating with people, and having things to worry about, like your light bulb isn't working, this makes people sick. Mm-hmm. And so I hope that can be my legacy I'm, as old as I am now, and I'm glad that I have something that I can think about as a legacy. So that's it.
It's clear to me that even beyond that will be your legacy. It is very clear to me. and I'm sure
you're very sweet.
Most people that get to experience time with you, I'm sure take away the same.
Oh, well, thank you.
So for our last question, what are some of the hopes and needs you would like to see addressed in Marin?
Well, of course, it has to do with the aging community, and the problem is still there, and it takes a lot more volunteers to even make a dent. And I just hope that people, as Marin Villages grows bigger and people are getting more aware of it, they are also learning that it can be fun to be with the old people. Because if people don't know that, they might think that aging is aging just isn't sexy. It's very hard to raise money for aging, and as we learned in the beginning, it's getting better. But I would hope that the spirit of Marin villages, and they do have we have a wonderful staff, and all these volunteers get together and to be thanked once a year, and it's just such a wonderful time. Everybody thinks the same way, you know, and so I would hope that that feeling would grow, and that more and more people would get involved with the aging community. I mean, I think there are a lot more people who could do some volunteer work who don't. And I would like to see that. And I do think the schools try. I don't know whether they work. It works, sort of. But here in the United States, we seem to be able to keep people alive pretty long. Although I understand that's slipping. It's not as good as it used to be. Mm-hmm. But we have never addressed keeping them healthy and happy. And I think we need to center on that. And I'm so glad that Marin Villages is what it is, and is doing what it is, and is doing it well. And I'm hoping that it will grow, and we can take care of more of these seniors, who I look at in a different light than I would have 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Loulie, I think there's been so many nuggets from our conversation today. I took away jotting down notes because I personally know the value of sitting with folks from different generations and learning, but the value that you talked about, which is creating opportunities for togetherness, every generation needs it.
Yeah.
And you are spot on, whether it's in the schools or volunteering.
Yeah.
It is as essential as air to all of us.
Yeah.
Because we're just humans, and
Right.
I think we all value it, and we need more of it. So I'm going to put in a shameless plug for Marin Villages. It sounds like we could volunteer, but we could also donate to sponsor someone's $400 a year
You certainly can.
membership.
You certainly can. You certainly can. And that was, you know, as I said, that was where I got the term, being old is not sexy, and aging is not sexy. And that was the stumbling block at the very beginning, because we were fighting all the other many nonprofits in Marin County who were doing things for animals, poor people, and so forth. And people are not so interested in just giving to something for old people, but they're getting more interested. And the funds are coming in. And I am an optimist, but I am optimistic about what will happen in the future. It may take a while.
Well, I will. It is my hope. I'll put it out into the universe that your induction in this year's Women's Hall of Fame, as well as this interview, as well as all the lives that you've touched, will continue raising awareness for what we should all be doing to contribute to our communities at all generations. Volunteering, creating opportunities for togetherness. If you have dollars, those are also welcomed in the form of donations,
Yes.
just to continue this great work. So thank you so much for giving me the honor of learning more about you and just chatting with you. This has been a fantastic experience for me.
Thank you. Thank you for doing a good job.
Thank you, Loulie Sutro, for sharing stories from your remarkable life and work with us. And thank you to our viewers for tuning into the YWCA Marin Women's Hall of Fame Class of 2026 inductee interviews presented by Kaiser Permanente. To learn more about the YWCA Marin Women's Hall of Fame and our honorees, please visit YWCA Golden Gate Silicon Valley webpage at www.yourywca.org.